again with Lieutenant Governor Spencer Cox, who is also a Republican candidate for governor in 2020. Great to have you back on the show. Thanks for being here.
It's good to be back, Glenn.
Yeah. Well, we've had you on before, but not as a candidate, so we'll get into some different issues this time around. You launched your campaign a couple months ago, and you've been on a service tour around the state. Give us a little idea of what that's all about and why you're doing that.
Well, there's a couple reasons. I live in a small town of Fairview, about 100 miles south of Salt Lake City, and we never had candidates for governor come to Fairview. And that always bothered me. I know you have to go where the votes are, but I wanted to go where the people were and make sure that everybody felt that their voice was heard. And so we made a commitment to visit all 248 cities and towns in Utah, incorporated cities and towns. We've been to 149, so we have 99 left, but it's been incredible, Glenn, to talk to people, to understand the issues that are important to them. I visit all 29 counties every year and thought that was enough. My only regret is that I didn't do it sooner, because there are unique issues, and people are so proud of where they live. It's amazing. But the idea to do service was a reminder that government was not designed to solve all of our problems. And one of the things that makes Utah very special is that we lead the nation in volunteerism every year. And when you're doing service projects, you get people out who wouldn't normally come out to maybe listen to a campaign rally. A lot of people don't like politics, but they like their communities and they want to give back, and then it gives us a chance to talk about the issues while we're serving and working together.
You are the lieutenant governor now. You know what it's like. You see the governor all the time. You're his right-hand guy. Why do you want to take that job?
Well, to be honest, I'm not sure I did at first. The governor came to me and said, I've decided not to run, and I really want you to run. He said, we've never had a governor who understands rural Utah and the issues of the Wasatch Front, who's been a city councilman, a mayor, a county commissioner, the House of Representatives, and run a private business for 10 years. And that's a very unique combination. And so he asked us to do that, and it was a harder decision for me, I think, maybe more than anyone else, because I know what it means. I watch it every day to be governor. I've said this before. I think everybody wants to be governor, but not everyone wants to do governor. And I know what it means to do governor. And so it was a really hard decision. For us, it was a family decision. It just felt like this is what we were supposed to do now, and we'll see what happens.
Let's stick with that. You are serving as lieutenant governor right now. Some have said it's a conflict for you to be the lieutenant governor and run for governor at the same time. What's your response to that?
Well, my response to that is that there is no conflict. Of course, we have elected officials that run for their same office or other offices all the time. One of the concerns that comes up is that I do oversee elections. And so to make sure that there's no controversy there, we have an agreement with a former lieutenant governor, Gail McKechnie, well-respected, great human being, who, if there is an issue or a complaint specifically that impacts this race, so that I won't be making that, well, I have to make the official decision under statute. He will make a decision and put that in writing for all of the public to see, and then I can either follow what he recommends or not, but obviously it would be important to follow what he recommends so that it doesn't look like there's any bias at all in those decisions.
Obviously, you have a stage as lieutenant governor, and it's a big job. So how do you balance official versus campaign?
Well, it's critical to make that balance. And again, everyone has to do that. Every legislator that runs for office, every mayor, every governor that runs for re-election has to go through that. And so we're very careful. I have a state vehicle. I use that state vehicle for state things. I park that vehicle and use a different vehicle, a private vehicle or a campaign vehicle, when we have campaign issues. We're very careful with our time. My state staff, if anything comes to them that's campaign related, they immediately forward that to the campaign so that we're not mixing those two. And we're off on official business, but when we're doing campaign business, it's campaign business.
Let's get into some of the issues and talk about how you would direct those or go about those if you were the governor. And let's start with tax reform. That's a big one right now.
Yeah.
We're going through that process. First question to you is, do we need tax reform? Do we need to reform the system?
So we do need some reform, and maybe not as much reform as has been talked about. What happens anytime you reform taxes, and this happened back in the early 2000s, you get a set standard, and people and industries with really good lobbyists come up and make a great case for why they should not have to pay taxes, and the legislature will make some changes, and we create all of these loopholes, and then you get a tax structure that looks more like Swiss cheese. And then what happens is there's this push to raise taxes, which I think is a huge mistake. We don't have a tax problem. We have spending issues, and we can do better at spending. And so to me, the easy answer is to go in and fill in some of those loopholes that are lingering, and that's something that we proposed 2 or 3 years ago to do.
I think that was some of the heartburn with HB 441 during the session, is that, you know, there was this idea we're going to tax services, it's going to be fair, but right off the bat, you saw people that were taken out of there. Did you support the idea of the services-based tax? Do you think that's a good way to go?
I don't. I think that was far too broad to tax all services, and not only that, but the process was very truncated. People didn't have a chance to read the bill, to understand the intended consequences, let alone the unintended consequences. And so I'm very grateful that the legislature stopped that process, went out over the summer, spent time in many communities getting feedback, and we're anxious to hear what they've heard.
Let's move on to abortion. You know, we passed a new law this year to 18 weeks. It was threatened that it would be taken to court. It is now in the court process. Would you have signed that bill if you were governor?
Yes, I would have signed that bill.
And why
if
is
I
that?
was governor. Because we're a pro-life state. I'm a pro-life person. I believe in the sanctity of life. I believe that through technology, the viability age has moved up extensively, and I just feel in my core that we are going to look back, generations to come will look back on us and look at, I believe they'll look at this issue much like we look at slavery and some of the other real dark marks on our society, and they'll wonder why we allowed abortion in, second term, third term abortions to happen in a very modern society. It makes no sense to me.
We're seeing other states take it to a near virtual ban altogether. Do you believe it should even go further than 18 weeks?
I believe, and that's a discussion we need to have. I do believe that it could go there. I don't think I would support all the way, but in fact, I've been supportive of exceptions for rape and incest. I think those are important exceptions, but certainly nothing in the second term and never in the third term.
Let's talk public lands. You're a rural guy. Let's talk specifically Bears Ears and Grand Staircase Escalante. Do you support the reduction we saw from the Trump administration on those two national monuments?
So these issues of public lands have been very divisive, and they've been going on for years and years. What a lot of people don't know, the original Sagebrush Rebellion in this state was led by the Democrats, and now the Republicans have taken up that. I've been very outspoken. I live next to, our farm goes right up to public lands, the National Forest Service on the Manti LaSalle. My family grazes on BLM land in the desert, the sheep, and on the national forest. And so I feel like I have maybe a very personalized view of these. We need to protect the pristine parts of our state for generations to come. And we have protected them. That's why they're still here, is because we are conservationists. We care about these types of things. Now, those two, with the stroke of a pen, President Obama and President Clinton locked up vast millions of acres, far too vast. While there are parts of those that deserve and need protection, it was far broader than is needed. And so I do support rolling those back while still protecting the pristine portions of those that need to be protected.
All right, so much more I'd like to get into with you, but time goes just like that, and we're out of time. So
we'll have to come